Open it.
Hollywood Spotlight, Tony the Same. I love Westerns. Do you love Westerns? In this episode, we're going to break down not only a Western that's just making headlines and buzzing all over the place, but a subgenre of Westerns called the Black Western. We're going to zero in with our notable team of commentators on the film called The Harder They Fall. Yeah, you ready for this? Let's get it. Movies and wine, marvelous combination. Listen, before we jump into this, I gotta say that Jonathan Majors is a bona fide star, okay? I mean, we saw him in several films. He continues to break out over and over again, but seeing him in Lovecraft Country really kind of put the nail right on the head right there for this talented leading man. And if there's any doubt, well, when he moved into this Western role as the leading man, both being a gunslinger, a lover, and a fighter, we saw a star break out at the next level.
Slow. Nat Love, outlaw, hunts down those who trespass against him with no mercy.
No, devil. This gonna be Buck's last day amongst the living.
Professional robbery.
But we're gonna talk about the other members of the cast, the acting, and everything else that goes with this film. So let's bring the panel in. Let's have this discussion about the elements of The Harder They Fall that may just make it a Western classic and a sub-genre icon in Hollywood, the Black Western.
The Harder They Fall, got to see it, just a stacked lineup of amazing actors that brought characters to life, some of which we know and some of which people should know, all are legendary. But Tanya, you're up first. Why don't you give us a rundown real quick of what made this movie enjoyable to you?
Oh, it's so top-loaded with talent. I mean, being a producer and somebody who's into independent producing and independent filmmaking and doing my own series, I know the importance of good actors. I have definitely been hit with that. And these actors are all so wonderful. They are so powerful. And I gotta speak for the ladies too. You know, I loved my ladies. Regina King, always here for that, sister. Always here for it. I gotta admit, I'm being introduced to Zazie Beetz. My daughter told me who she was. And she was just fantastic. So I love her. And then, of course, Danielle Deadwyler, she's always good. And her loyalty was to, I think her Stagecoach Mary, who was Zazie Beetz. So that one, oh gosh, she was just fierce. But you know, I always thought Westerns are kind of just corny. You know, everybody wants revenge. Everybody's shoot, bang, bang. Don't have any compassion for anybody. I'm just gonna kill you. Bye. You know, none of that went away in this Western. It was still bang, bang, bye. See you later on the other side, you know.
Please.
I'm gonna get my revenge.
Right.
So yeah, and just because they were all black cowboys, it's none of that changed. And I'm pretty sure that's the way it was back then. There were real black cowboys.
The acting was so great, I don't think you can overlook it. It was effortless. And I love to get black movies where they don't look like they're reading lines. You know, and you can see that each character put their own style into it. So that was awesome. I mean, and Regina King's character she played that character flawlessly.
Yes, she did.
Like she woke out of bed being that person. So that was so awesome. And I still watch the Westerns in the mornings, on the weekends. And so I love it because, you know, they're always great moral tales. This one actually, not to go too far, but the plot was actually pretty good. It was a really solid plot. And I think towards the end, I was figuring it out. but it was just so solid how they laid that out, because you knew something else had to have been there if you're a fan of Westerns. And so that was the great part. I think the awesome part that you don't see a lot, they've had a few Black Westerns, is each character got to develop themselves. That's always a great thing in Westerns. Growing up, we always had a Festus in the community among Black people, because Festus was allowed, even as a simple person, to grow himself. So, I love to see that the characters were allowed to grow themselves, like with Cuffy, who was the young lady at the door. She was allowed to be a human being, not just somebody at the door. You got to be able to see her nuances. Everybody's nuance, and everybody the way they could interact with each other, and we know Black folk, we always bring a little spice to the
yes, we do that. We know how to do
right to the entrees, so you can see that, and so that was awesome. That was just the great part about it, that you could see everyone, what they brought to it, and the acting was just top shelf acting, out of this whole acting.
Yeah. Definitely agree with that. I think that, like I said from the beginning, when you have a cast that is that phenomenal, Regina King had me, and it's not a spoiler, but you saw it in the trailer. She just went,
yes.
And I was like,
yep.
No words. Whoa. I don't even know if she had that many lines in this film.
Where is it?
Where is who?
Your boss.
My boss. Clearly, you don't know me.
The great thing about it, though, Tony, was they let it develop, like the scenes themselves develop. No one was trying to rush to say their line. You can have 2 beats of silence, and you're sitting there waiting for the next movement, which was awesome.
Brother, that's what I'm talking about. The thing that I also wanted to talk about that I liked, I mean, you guys already captured it, and I think that for those of you guys who are watching, it's if you're a Western fan, you're gonna get all the Western juice and sauce and mixture in there. The big giant cinematography with the big mountain ranges, or a big valley with one little town in there that it's getting ready to go down right there.
It's going down.
So you have that, your typical Stagecoach and this, that, and the other. But what I like that we didn't see coming is a love story. There were love stories. We can never forget, and we oftentimes overlook, Black people fall in love. They gain and lose love, not just a love story between a man and a woman, but there was camaraderie and love between both opposing forces among their own.
Yeah,
Among their own.
I love that. I love
think
that.
Yeah, and the other thing that I think was good is you're going to see a lot of comic relief, because people are getting. Look, it's a violent film. It's a violent film for you. I've always been wanting to see LaKeith Stanfield break out. But what I didn't realize is he's been breaking out all the time. But in this one, there was just something he brought to the table that was just as unique as Val Kilmer in Tombstone. LaKeith Stanfield had one-liners like crazy, comic relief, but he was deadly. He was no joke.
I don't particularly enjoy violence. That being said, you are currently in company of extremely violent individuals. Jump, motherfucker.
Like Tarantino and many other people, they took history and was like, let's just rip history apart and make up a whole new story. Talk about Stagecoach Mary. Mary Fields.
She was a businesswoman.
Stagecoach Mary, the real Stagecoach Mary, she was no joke either. Now, she was a hired Star Service route carrier. So basically what that meant was that she had to have a shotgun about the size of a bazooka and drive through to make her deliveries. Yeah. And it was a high risk job because it could be anything, including money. She was not to be played with. The real Stagecoach Mary would take your head off with a knife.
And though she wasn't doing that job in the movie, she was still the same persona.
Yes,
you
no
don't
question.
mess with her.
She was not
You
one to
didn't
cross.
mess with her. No.
The other one is Nat Love. Now, or Nate Love, if you chose. Listen, he was not like the guy in the film. The real Nat Love was a cattle guy. He hung with the Indians. He could deal with the cavalry. He could deal with anyone in the West. He was a scout. He spoke languages. He was just a brilliant man. And then Bill Pickett, who was in this, created bulldogging, pretty much the rodeo that we call today cowboys. Cowboys.
Right.
Now, I did a few years ago one called Black Cowboys, one of the episodes, and so I'm going to re-release that once you guys check that out, because that'll give you the history of Black cowboys both in film and in reality. So before we wrap up now, okay, so I had some problems with the twisting of history, but it was still entertaining. And I always have a problem when the guys are up in the towers, they got machine guns and they're missing him.
Right.
Bam. Or, and this guy, he's not even gonna look at him, he's just gonna go.
I grew up in the 18th generation where, they blew up tanks and everything else and never got shot.
Yeah.
But that's a part of the Western aura of, John Wayne, Clint Eastwood walking into town and being the sharpest shooter. And there is actually, my grandfather wanted to be a cowboy. My great grandfather was a cowboy. I have a farm, so you get that, and there are people who have those kind of talents. If you know that, and once you know that part, then it falls better into place. But even as a movie, it's still entertaining.
Yes.
That,
Yeah.
The hero doesn't fall with one bullet. I mean, that's just a part of it.
Okay, it's fun to watch. I get it, but.
Well, look, it's Hollywood.
I'm not being picky.
It's entertainment. They're going to take those creative liberties all the time. You know that. That's what we do.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, that's entertainment. That's larger than life. And you know what, Ellen? I was on that note, what you're saying that was kind of off for you. I heard someone else doing a review, and they were saying how the storyline didn't have, the acting was good and this and that, but it didn't have much of a storyline. I'm like,
it had a great storyline.
Revenge Western. What else is there? What are you
knock off
for?
you knock off the stagecoach
A
and
poignant conversation between cowboys. That is it. I'm like, no, but I think we get a little bit too picky. I have to give this movie all of its props. James, we haven't said much about James Samuel, but James Samuel, the creator, the writer, the director, the composer, the sounds, he scored this thing. He did all of the music. He is the brother of the artist Seal.
That's a good piece of research there, LaTanya.
I think if everyone got shot as soon as they came into town, there'd be no show. So,
right.
You gotta keep them going a little bit. You gotta let them live a little bit. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And my pet peeve is kind of looking at a period piece with current music.
Right.
Okay.
That has always bothered me a little. It really has.
I'm glad you brought it up. Figured that you would, being an actress, singer, producer in the music area. We're hearing reggae, reggaeton.
Yeah.
I loved it. How did this soundtrack work for you guys?
I heard the rap and the hard. I mean, James he took this hard. I mean, there are the moments of the orchestra and the scoring, the underscore, and the strings. He did that, and that was great. But then he hit those hard rap beats, and I was like, oh, okay. But then,
Right.
because when I first saw this, Jim Beckwourth,
Right.
he reminded me of somebody straight out of Fridays. I was like, is this a comedy? When I first
In a way it was.
But the soundtrack matched him.
The funny part is, if this had stayed more authentic to the period, it'd probably be up for an Oscar. And
Yeah,
I think they were
exactly.
trying to get a younger audience, but young people don't like westerns. No, you can put Drake in a western. They might watch it for 10 minutes, but they be like, man, I'm not watching Drake ride a horse.
He may very well win a Grammy for some of this music, but
For those of you who watch, you guys let us know what your thoughts are about the soundtrack. Who stole the show? Delroy Lindo. I mean, you just got
he was awesome.
He was awesome. And by the way, he played Bass Reeves. Bass Reeves was the first Black U.S. Marshal west of the Mississippi River, and probably one of the baddest human beings to walk the earth. Look, you're talking about a Black man in the West where people just don't want you there, and he's a marshal, and he's telling people, no, you're not taking my guns at the door. And he had no problem shooting first, asking questions later. Not that I'm endorsing violence, but he was dealing with some very violent people in a lawless area. So that's just something to remember about Bass Reeves. Look him up, Reeves. You can tell me who you thought your scene stealer was. For me, it was, without a doubt, Danielle Deadweiler. It's a unanimous. Every time she was on the screen, I was riveted. I don't know if it was her eyes. I don't know if it's her character. I know that she was trying to blend in as a man so that she would be respected more.
Yeah.
I loved her. Everything she did it just worked for me.
Looking back at this and reading all this stuff, all the actors, where is Mike Beach? He's our first face we see, and he's not credited anywhere. Wait a minute, this is my friend. I don't see his name on IMDb right away. I don't see his name when you look up the cast. I'm like,
I'm not going to give a spoiler and say why, if I think it, but I will say that I recognize him immediately.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, this is going to be good because they got a lock right here. Thank you so much for bringing his name up, because whoever didn't mention him, you just did.
Yes.
Okay.
He's a friend of mine.
I love it. I'm going to go back with you, Greg. Any closing thoughts on this and the future of the Black Western? I mean, is it something that everybody can enjoy? Is it something that you think you'd like to see more of?
Great movie, great acting. I like the fact that they gave Black people moral depth of, you have a little Robin Hood type of thing in here. Just trying to make it too modern for people who aren't going to appreciate the modernity of it was a little different. But I think they could have done more things to keep it more to the period. But other than that, awesome movie. I think it's well worth the watch. Everyone will enjoy it.
I just have to say, go see it. I think we should go see it. We should support one another totally, just because this is called a Black Western. It's only called a Black Western because there were so many Black people in it.
Right.
Really.
All those characters could have been Asian, white, Black, Mexican, and it would have been a fabulous film.
That's it. Just go see it.
I see Asian films all the time.
Yeah.
Latino and Hispanic films, Brazilian films. I'm a film lover. We as Black folks have a tendency to support others more than we see the reciprocity that comes back. So I'm hoping that will change. I think Hollywood is becoming a lot more open because the box office numbers say it works for them. Greg King, my brother.
Yes,
thank
sir.
you so much for weighing in.
My pleasure. Thank you.
And yeah, when you hit us with your folks were cowboys, I was like, we're not worthy.
We still have cattle. I raise goats. So yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, always will be.
Oh, that's what I'm talking about, brother. That's what's up.
Right.
Thank you, sir. Tanya, as always, you brought a lot to it, lots of information and learning.
Absolutely.
So I appreciate you as well. Talking about cultural, relative, lasting, influential, and important cultural trends that we'll still be talking about years later. And I think this is one of them.
Just finished season 2 of 2 Degrees. You can see season 1 on YouTube and on Facebook. And we also co-produced the Mahalia Jackson film, Remember Me, starring Lettucey. Look for it coming out.
Awesome.
Be sure to subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, future shows.
Thank you,
See you
Cyler.
later. Peace.
Bye, brother.
Have a fantastic day.
Really?
A new day